Hello, Culture Matters
Hey,
podcast.
hey. Oh,
We are live for the New Year's Eve
there you are.
Lollapalooza
Wow.
2025, and I'm joined by the one and onlys, the co-host for the day, Mike Calhoun, Board of Advisors since 5 a.m. The one and onlys, Steve Wilmer speaks. Great friend of the Culture Matters podcast, founder of All Things Insurance Group, a teacher, a trainer, an inspirer. Every time I spend time with Pete, I grow. Christopher Tighe, who I met through Tony Capullo, somebody we love deeply on the show, who always elevates every conversation. Carl Eppolito, I'll never forget our first walk in the streets of Philadelphia bearing. I didn't even, I felt safe. Yeah. So that was because of the relationship that we have. Mike, are you there? By the way, guys, we haven't really gone to the bathroom much, so you might be in the bathroom. But how is everybody today?
Great.
I'm doing well, brother.
Today we are actually talking about the goal today is to look as last year's theme was what if life can only be understood backwards but must be lived forwards. We looked at a word the prior year and came up with a word for the year moving forward. So 2020, what was the word? So my word last year was intensity. That was the goal going into 2025. And I'd love each person just share a little bit about who they are, why they do what they do, what they're about. And then towards the middle, the end of the show, we'll talk about our words. Like I said, my word was intensity and uh, going into 2025. And this year, I'll share my word at the end for going 2026. Mike, please take it from here.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. Oh man, Christopher Tighe's here.
I'm here.
Look at
What's up,
this
Mike?
guy.
Beautiful. The
Chris, we were just
friendship
talking
is
about
great.
you on an earlier one. Yes, we
Nice.
had an earlier one. It began at 5 a.m.
Mm.
We've been doing this since 5 a.m. And I think we've done about 4 or 5, sometimes 6 people on each episode. These are kind of like a panel, like a round robin. There's a lot of value. We want to make sure we give everybody enough time to share a little bit about their product, platform, or service. You can slide in your URL if you like. Um, Also, let's put the human touch on it. Maybe there's some family you want to share, kids, wife, significant others. And what is the North Star for 2026? And if you've kind of concentrated that down into a single word, because Jay likes this concentrated single word focus, right? If you've been able to do that for 2026, let's share that as well. He kind of tracks that from year to year. So, Pete always, always comes with a 4 letter, no kidding. Pete has one of the largest vocabularies on the call today. Pete, glad to see you here, buddy. Carl, looking forward to hearing more about you, sir. And Steve, let's get after it, buddy. You look like a pro. Now, we are set to a hard stop at like 150, 155. He's going to cut us off. So we'll be as efficient as possible here. Uh, I would just keep going, but he's pretty good at being on time. Now, Chris,
Yes,
I'm
sir.
going to set you as the bookend because you're just kind of there naturally in the on the screen here. And Chris,
Hmm.
you're going to be first, or Carl, you're going to be first here. We're just going to go left to right, and uh, without any further ado, Jay, you want to get going?
Oh, can't wait.
All right, Carl. So, product, platform, service, the URL, a little bit of the family, and what is your North Star? If you've got a key word for us, did you have one last year, Carl? Oh, he's muted. Actually, I think it's his input.
Yeah. Check, yeah. Gotta check your microphone. I'm sorry. Let me
Steve.
let you run, Mike.
Yeah. No, you're right. I think it's the input.
If he can hear us, it's the speaker. The speaker's good. So when I can't hear my clients, it's because they chose the wrong microphone or something like that.
Can y'all hear me better?
There you go.
There we
All
go.
right. Y'all can hear
And
me?
if you were on last year, I was here for the entire time. Sometimes when I work with
Okay.
guys like you that are so successful, you look so much wealthier the following year. You're almost unrecognizable, right? So I apologize, Carl, if we met last year, but did you have a key word last year?
No, I didn't. So that was kind of the part. My biggest thing about this year was the fact that I didn't have a keyword last year. I've done it in the past a lot, and this year I was just kind of like, I don't know. I didn't have one. Went through life this year with a lot more of intentionality on my daughters. So can you all introduce yourself, please, real quick?
It's me. I'm Sophia. Nice to meet you. My name's Mia.
Hi,
Sophia
Sophia.
and
Hi, Mia.
Mia.
Hi.
And
Are
so
you guys twins?
so I'm a single dad, obviously with the two of them. And my life has got a lot of intentionality around being with them and what they do. So Soph is an all-star cheerleader. We traveled the country for her. We'll be in Indianapolis, Atlanta, Orlando, Providence, all coming up. Yeah. And then Mia, we traveled the East Coast playing soccer with her. And so the word unintentionally was intentionality with them and their growth. I've learned very quickly that she turns 13 in May. And by the time she turns 13, I've spent two-thirds of my time with her, in total. And so that just hit me super, super hard. Um, a quick background on my story is I went to undergrad on a full ride academic scholarship. I went and got my MBA from Villanova, got my executive master's, and had a really, really fast corporate software sales career. And when their mom and I split, I was traveling 200 days a year. So the goal kind of became they were 2 and 4, and so it was like I can keep charging really really hard after this goal that I'd set for myself. That was a super fair and valid goal. You're going to accomplish all of these things, or I'm going to miss my kids growing up. And juggling between trying to do both, it didn't really work. And then the COVID hit, and that was a big level set for many people in life. And for me, the level set was I was done traveling. And I just put a bookend on this career that I really wanted to chase. I had worked super hard for. I'd never made a B in my life in school, and we're just gonna do something where I'm with them. And so we started making content online during the pandemic, and I started with TikTok because nobody knew me there, and I could just kind of do whatever. And so I started sharing my faith a lot, and then sharing the realities of being a single dad. And that just exploded. And so at the end of 2020 into 21, brands were reaching out and they were like, "Hey, can you? We don't know how to do content like this, so could you make us a video?" And so I worked with a bunch of big brands like Microsofts and Omaha Steaks, and did one-off projects for them. And so as that kind of went through 21 and 22, people would say, "Hey, like, can you just do this for me? Like, I don't know how to do this. I know I need it." And then I started taking on retainer clients, and I come up with all the ideas, shoot all of it, edit all of it. Um, my girls do work with me now, which is so rad at 10 and 12. They'll come up with ideas. They'll come to shoots with me. They know most of my clients personally. I shoot all of her cheer gym stuff. And so I'm going to be at all these competitions. So I now shoot it. And what's insanely rad is that we have a massive network now in the cheer industry, which has turned out to just be really, really cool. I shoot a lot of her soccer content. And everything just, it was my ego got in the way of me not wanting to let go of say, "Hey, what do you do for work?" And I'm like, well, I'm a software sales executive. That makes you feel better. And to say like, "Oh, I'm a content creator," I feel like some 21-year-old loser living in LA just making videos. And it was my ego had to totally get over that. And I still struggle even today with it. Like just being completely okay with, hey, this is this new career over the last 3 years, and it's been awesome. We've gotten to do so many super fun things because of it. And then I get to help people that just don't know how to get their message out there. and it's wild because Google now indexes your social content ahead of regular web pages. Like you have to have it. And it's just become this really neat change. But I get to do it with them, which is the biggest part of it, which is why I had them come in here. And our big word for 2026 is accountability. And so, I've put on 20 pounds that I don't ever have on. And it's just me being accountable to what I eat. She's in seventh, she'll be in eighth grade next year. She's training to compete in college, and you know, the food that goes in your body matters. How we recover from our bodies matter. How we treat our bodies matter. She's learning a hard lesson that she just finished learning, and that's we were on vacation visiting my family in Texas. And if you don't train on vacation, you come back and you're rusty. And so in the 19-degree weather, she was outside getting her work in because she didn't get her work in while we were in Texas. And so accountability is a really big word for us. And it's also, them holding me accountable. They know very well, like when we just did a 2 mile run and it was like, hey, I go with you. Like if you're doing it, I'm doing it. And so that's our fast story. Jay and I have known each other from day one in Philadelphia. I love the things that you're doing. I love how much you care about your network. I think people with networks become very transactional, like, oh, I can do this for you and you can do this for me. And we say we're not transactional, but we are. And I love networks where, Jay, you care about like people that are in your network, and I really respect that about you. Big
Thanks.
time. That's why I'm happy to make the time. We're heading to the beach for Fourth of July for New Year's Eve as soon as we finish this, but it was important that we made time to be here, Jay.
It means a lot. Thank you.
So I don't know. That was a quick rundown. I hope that was what you were.
Well, we have to get together in 10 years when they're 10 years older and all watch it together.
Oh, can't
Yeah.
wait.
Yeah.
Well,
Can't
we've
wait.
actually been talking about the importance of social media on previous and the live aspect on previous conversations. So I'm really glad you're here,
Who's next?
and
Who's
hopefully,
next?
I think Pete is next. Yeah, Pete's next. So great job there, Carl.
Yeah, appreciate you guys.
Dude, that's an awesome story. I love that. We reverse. I follow you on TikTok. You followed me on Instagram. So now we got you on both.
And I'll say, like, there's so many questions around that. When it comes to all of the social stuff, I'll drop my stuff in here. Always ask me a question. There's so much what people think that you do and don't do. Just drop me a note. I'll help anybody I can.
Yeah, I kick butt on Insta or Meta. Terrible at TikTok. So I could definitely learn something from you. What's up, guys? Pete Fournier, owner of All Things Insurance Group. Literally, as the name would suggest, we do everything in the insurance space from life, health, Medicare, retirement planning, annuities, group benefits, commercial liability, home and auto, you name it. We're national, so we're in all 50 states, and I have 443 reps across the country. So I started in this really boring industry my senior year of college. My roommate got recruited into like Northwestern Mutual. If anybody's been down that path, and I was like, well, I'm smarter than you. I can jump into this. So I made a whopping like $28,300 or something my senior year, which I felt like was $1 million. And I just never looked back. Got in a bunch of trouble 2012 to 2014, just hired a bunch of bad apples and got smacked in the face with about $107,000 worth of debt. So then my parents were nice enough to let me live in their basement for about 2.5 years while I got back on my feet, which was kind of cool. Had to take a W-2 job. It was kind of a nightmare. But now we're kind of off to the races. So I started this company solo in November of 2021. We had about 14 people and no staff. I was the staff. Now we got 11 people on payroll and then 440 reps nationally. So things are working if you just keep working, which is pretty cool. I got a 3-year-old daughter. She just turned 3 in November, and I got a son on the way in May, which is pretty crazy. My lovely fiance Natalie and I are probably getting married sometime in the fall. So big things for 2026. I thought I just got the one potty trained, and now I got the other one coming. I'm like, damn. So lots of money on diapers. But it's been a good year. As Jay will tell you, he worked closely with me throughout the process of developing out staff and corporate culture and things that you need to actually have a business instead of just saying you're a business owner, which you also don't realize. And then we implemented other shit like huge business liability insurance for ourselves and E&O and all that stuff that people don't tell you because they just, show you the Lambo and they're like, you can have this too. And they don't tell you all the expenses that come with it. Last year, I think my word was expansion, which worked. We had like 211 reps at the beginning of last year. We cut about 100 of them, and now we're back up to 440. We'll probably go back to the chopping block maybe at the end of January. So if any of the ATIG reps are listening, make sure you're producing in the next 30 days. I just don't like dead weight. So if you're with us and you don't produce a contract within 30 days, let's get out of there. But this year is efficiency, would be my word. I spent a lot of time wearing every single hat, which I think you have to do in the beginning of your business development journey. But then it just becomes monotonous and stupid and also not worth your time. And I also have developed a good sense of, I guess, empathy, you would say. Like, who the hell would want to do spreadsheets, And then I found my COO and I was like, oh my God, she loves it. Wow, so wild. So, like, offloading all the stuff that, one, I'm not good at, and two, that I don't want to do. So, 2026 is definitely going to be more so efficiency rather than like I felt myself for probably the last 2 years tripping over dollars to pick up dimes. And I want to flip the script on that, only go after the dollars and leave the dimes for somebody else, or pass the dimes along to our, team or staff. So I think that's super important. It's like, you, as Carl mentioned too, you like sprint, 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 and then you don't like zoom out on your business and you're like, oh my God, I'm doing all this work and I'm fucking exhausted. But at the same token, I'm not really being really efficient with my time. So it comes across like bougie. I always felt like a little bougie saying, oh, that's not worth my time to do. But it's a true statement. And it's a thing that you have to realize being an owner or CEO or whatever you want to call yourself title wise is there's a lot of things in business that either if they're not now, soon to be, are not worth your time. So you got to hire out for that stuff. So a little bit about me. I love racket sports. I'm a musical theater junkie, played professional racquetball for a hot second. Made no money doing that. I don't suggest it for anybody, but it was a lot of fun. I will mess someone up on the pickleball, tennis, or racquetball court. But those are kind of my hobbies and big musical theater nerd.
Love it. And pickleball is like the hottest thing going now, isn't it?
Dude, it's crazy. And it's a great way. I mean, we're in the space of, I deal still with some clients of the retirement planning space. It's unbelievable networking. Sometimes you gotta let them win though,
They're converting all the tennis courts into pickleball courts.
Yeah, it's nuts. Low barrier to entry. Profit margin's huge. One of the local spots is my client, and just checking out the P&Ls on a pickleball court. It's like, dude, insane.
Somebody should be making content around it.
Print money.
Right, Carl? See, Carl, I didn't forget. All right, good job, Pete, man.
Thanks.
Excellent seeing you. As always, you're a rock star. Steve Wilmer. Love to learn a little bit about you, my man.
So spent 8 years in the Marine Corps, 4 years active, 4 years in the reserves. I'm an 0311. It's infantry. Served in the first Desert Shield War, Desert Shield, Desert Storm. Then spent the next 10 years in law enforcement, worked for the city, the county, worked undercover narcotics. Started part-time with a network marketing company in sales and ended up replacing my income and left that 9 to 5 for network marketing. And that got me into sales. And then I started working for a State Farm agent. The whole key was to own my own State Farm agency. And I became the number one team member in the whole state of Florida, top 3% in the entire country. People started calling me going, hey, what are you doing? How are you selling so much life insurance? Which, Pete, you and I should talk. I give your team a free team training.
Hell yeah.
And I actually started making more money teaching people how to sell insurance than actually selling insurance. So I did what no one has ever done, is I turned down an appointment as a State Farm agent. They said, no one's ever done that. Once State Farm says, here's an agency, most people say, thank you. I said, nah, I'm good. Left State Farm, started my own training company. That was back in 2016. I've trained over 4,000 State Farm agents. I went from a one-man show. I now have a team of people. And I do speaking engagements, teaching, training, things like that. I want to give you, though, my word for 2025 this year. The word was accelerate. And my mindset was, I'm going to put my head down and I'm not going to take my foot off the gas. Here was the problem with that. I didn't take my foot off the gas, but the problem was I really didn't know where I was going. So I'm just enrolling people, doing this, doing that, head down. At the end of the year, I look up and I made $200,000 less. So we're a seven-figure company, but again, to go from 1.6 to 1.4, and I'm looking at my team like, what the hell happened? I put my head down. I wasn't paying attention to what was going on. Here's my new word for 2026. You guys said it earlier. Focus. Focus, focus, focus. I'm going to scale my accountability clients. You just said this, Pete. This is important. You said stepping over dollars to get to dimes. So I have two different coaching things. I have a group coaching. So if you can imagine 150, 170 people in a Zoom call, I'm training them all for $400 a month. What I'm doing now is I'm moving from the red ocean to the blue ocean. You guys know that analogy. My thing now is accountability. So instead of charging $400 to teach everybody, it's Mike, you want me to train you and your team? It's $2,500 a month. And I can't believe how many clients I'm picking up like this. So now I get less clients, more income, more money. And anybody that does leave from the group coaching, being focused, like, why did you leave? What are we missing? How can we improve? Different things like that. So 2026, the word is focus. I'm scaling my accountability, moving to the blue ocean, and see what we can do to minimize cancellations. That's me.
Very well articulated. That was excellent. Good job, dude. Very good job.
Thanks, brother.
Great leverage on, you provided leverage to your client. Very well done, because you can train their whole team now. One nice little consolidated price.
There you go.
Very smart. Chris Tighe.
Yes,
Chris, I
sir.
didn't save you to the end so you can tie a bow on this thing.
Mhm.
I saved you at the end because it's the best for last, baby. We were talking positive about you earlier today. I've watched you grow tremendously in the personal side, business, just even right down to getting up in front of people and doing great presentations and preparing for tough conversations like that. Love to hear where you're at right now, the status, and just, kind of make sure everybody else is on the same page with us. Mr. Chris Tighe, go ahead, buddy.
Hey, what's up, guys? Man, this is a cool group. Carl, I want to talk to you about social media. Pete, my general liability insurance is going to be up next month, and I'm not happy with my current guy, so I'd love to talk to you about that. And Steve, you and I share a similar background. I did 23 years in the military. I did 13 active, 10 reserve. While I was a reservist, I was a San Diego police officer, so I did that as well. And then in 2017, I retired from the Navy, left the police department, and just kind of was lost. What am I going to do with my life? I've always wanted to have my own business, was too afraid to do it. And then in 2019, just jumped right in. So I started off in property management, grew that company from 0 to 260 doors in 18 months. Realized I hated property management because nobody calls unless they're complaining about something, much like being a police officer. So I didn't want to be in that world anymore. With the property management side, I had clients say, hey, do you know anyone who could oversee my construction projects? And, rewind a bit to my days in Afghanistan, where I went and I was the first person in my unit to show up. My job was to build our operations center with zero background in construction. So I said, yeah, I could do it. And that's how Elevation Construction started in 2020, March of 2020, out in the Seattle area. A couple years there, sold the property management company. Didn't like really living up in Washington, just the weather, as everyone says. But I've always wanted to live in Texas. So moved down here to Texas in 2022, opened up elevation construction down here in Houston, and been doing that for the last 3 years. It's been fantastic. Went from zero to this year, we're landing at about 1.3 million in revenue. Profitable this year. The first couple of years lost money, but first 3 years are rough. This year, profitable, and next year's looking great. Projections are looking fantastic for next year, probably double in size, which is great. But yeah, it's last year, my word. So I was on this show last year for New Year's, and my word last year was persistence. And really, I chose that word last year because I just felt like that year, 2025 was going to be tough, but I couldn't put my finger on what the tough was going to be. Lawsuits, non-paying clients, and to top it all off, went through a divorce. So it was hard. That word was very important because going through all that stuff, you start doubting yourself. Gosh, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? Am I worthy enough to have my own company? I joined the board of advisors, and I'm in a room full of these very successful people, and I'm in that room like, yeah, I don't belong here. This is not, how am I going to add value here? And so it was a year of really uh, the battle of the mind, of ignoring the negative self-talk and feeding my mind with the positivity and being around the right people. So I really was intentional on being around the right people to really help me through that, just more of a encouragement. I met a lot of great people at the board of advisors. They reach out to me and give me advice, encouragement, whatever it might be. I've got some great relationships out of the board of advisors. In fact, Ray Perez is going to be my chief marketing officer starting Monday next week. So I'm very excited for that. So we're going to do a kickoff meeting on Monday. But yeah, it was a rough year. It was tough. Wanted to quit a lot of times. But I was persistent, and I'm like, no, this is my path. I know God put me on this path for a reason. These challenges that I'm going through right now is there because I need to be a better businessman. I need to be a better dad. I need to be a better person. And so going through those hard challenges will mold me into a better person. And that's how I chose to look at it. And I feel like that is the direction I'm going. So I feel like I got a really good foundation of a better network now because of last year. Closer friends, very, very close friends. You go through those hard times, you really realize who your friends are. And taking that and building on that. And because business is starting to get better, my word that I chose for next year, and I really put a lot of thought into this because I thought about focus too. I'm like, it wasn't really hitting me. I thought of another word, and I'm like, not really my word. But next year's word is growth, and I want to grow in my relationships, primarily with my boys. Going through the divorce, I know it's hard on them, so I really want to invest a lot of time in them and just develop them into better men than what I could ever be. I've got a special someone in my life. Her name's Hope, and just growing in that relationship with her. Mike, you've met her. She's fantastic. She's a huge support. Awesome. She's a huge support in my life and my biggest cheerleader. So I'm very grateful for her. Great friends. I want to grow in being a businessman. I want to know my numbers better for the business. I want to be a better leader and mentor to my team, to others. I want the business to be better. So I want to do a better job being the face of the company. I follow a guy named Tommy Mello with A1 Garage Doors, and I really like what he's doing. And that was really the catalyst to help for me to bring Ray Perez onto the team. I want to grow in my generosity. I want to send my mom some money every month. I help out an orphanage in the Dominican Republic, so I want to give them more money. And of course, on the fitness side too, I want just get better in cardio, put on a little bit more muscle. So things like that. So next year is about growth. With my experience in the construction side, I'm really good at leveraging remote teamwork. I found some excellent team members in Mexico. They've been with me between 3 to 5 years. And when I meet with other contractors, I'm a part of a contractor group around the country. They ask me, how do you use remote team workers in construction? And so through that, I developed the Caffeinated Contractor, which is a podcast. And with the podcast, now I'm getting clients who are asking me to help them find good quality remote team workers to join their team. And then I also have a 30-day onboarding program to teach the business owner how to work with a remote team worker and to help develop that first 30-day relationship so they can set them up for success. So that's kind of where I'm at right now.
You know, the thing I love about you most, Chris, is your bar for yourself is so high
Mhm.
that you're looking at the gap between where you feel like you're at and where you've set the bar for yourself. And when I'm looking at the DNA of the type of individual that I most cherish inside the community fabric, like you're one of the first guys I think about. It's just
Thanks, Mike.
so
Appreciate
wild that like you're looking at yourself through such a focused lens of, when you're going through a hard time, you're looking at yourself through a focused lens of a temporary monetary constriction where, dude, your value's off the charts. So like I couldn't
Thanks,
give you a
Mike.
higher compliment, bro.
I appreciate that, Mike. Thanks. I really do. I really do. And the board of advisors, I tell you, that is a fantastic group. And I tell you what, some really close relationships in that group have really made a huge difference in my life over the last 6 to 8 months.
Well, we've converted to 100% female now, so none of these guys can join.
Hey, Mike, what's a core
Carl,
value?
that was a joke. I didn't want to be transactional, Carl.
What's a core value, Mike, that you've observed in Chris, being that he's been within a core value you've observed in Chris, being that you've spent time with him in the field, being a member of your
Well,
company.
I mean, Chris is an example. Everybody loves to use the word integrity, but like that is Chris. Everybody likes to use the word discipline, but that is Chris. I mean, everybody wants to use a lot of these key words, especially for their 2026, focus or inspiration. Chris lives a lot of these keywords, and what he wants to feel. I don't know Chris as well as maybe you do, Jay, but his desire to feel the sensation of growth will absolutely happen because of everything because of his integrity, his discipline, his commitment, his follow through, the ability to trust him on first point of contact. He's going to get the growth because of all the other things that he's done, not because he wants growth.
I have a question for Carl. Do you have any, within whatever, would you have any advice based on, or even, yeah, like, do you have any advice for Chris based on what he just shared?
Yeah, I mean, Chris,
Experience
we
within
will, yeah, I
within
mean,
reason, because we're live, about 2 million people are listening.
yeah, Chris, I mean, we have to connect for sure. There's so many things that you mentioned that I've run parallel lives with, from the divorce, um, and the mental aspect of that, which is far bigger than people talk about.
Yep.
Love that you're doing that podcast. And I was like, I was smiling to myself because, um, I think a lot of people do they have a lot of desires with podcasting. And I'm going to say this on a podcast respectfully. Um, they have a lot of desires with podcasting, but what they really want to do is share something that they've learned with people that they think also should hear it. And that's why I love social so much, is because I spent my entire career in tech. So I knew how the platforms were built. That's why I got into creating content. It was the same thing as a podcast, though. It's like, look, you want to do this podcast. It's just about, hey, I have this really cool thing. I want to share it with so many people because I think it'll be helpful to them. And we'll talk offline, but like, how do you put that on social? You'll reach so many more people so much faster.
Mhm.
And I love guys that have gone through some serious things and then have developed some really good skills. Men need to hear from men like you because there's a big void right now, and that void is being filled by men that men don't need to hear from. And that's the most
Mhm.
respectful, nice way I can say it. Like, there's a lot of strong men on this between the six of us, and there's a bunch of men that really need to hear from us. They really need to hear the things that we're saying. Pete, growing your company. Steve, like what you've learned in leadership and in training people. Like, there are so many men that are thirsty that really want to hear this message. The problem is we're not sharing it. And we think we are, but we're not. And so then that void gets filled by people that those men don't need to hear from. Does that make sense? And that's what I've heard. Like I keep hearing all these stories and I'm like, oh my goodness, I just want to go fly out to you, shoot content, and make sure the world hears what you have to say. Because I see what people are saying, and I don't want men to hear what others have to say. This is like Jay, this is a really great, strong group of guys, man.
Well, I want to piggyback that then because one of the goals with the show is this. One of the paradoxes of content are those that have the least correlates. A really good reason to go out and proselytize would be the absence of acting out those values. So if I can get some people together that are so busy listening, they're not speaking, and just give them a platform to say something, I think you're getting some people together that are really living it out, like right, living out their core values. So like I have been trying to do that for about 3,500 hours, give or take, through the show. It's just, and now we're at a place where it'd be nice for more, the 2 million people to listen to. But how do you? It's like damned if you do, damned if you don't. But the goal here is that, maybe for some of us that have been doing the work for many years, give him an opportunity to say something, to actually be listened to. Because if you just spend all your time listening, well, then you're fit to speak, but then no one asks you to speak because you're obscure, right? No one's heard of you. Or like there's a lot of contradiction here, right? Someone that's always speaking and always out there, well, then they're in a season of not listening.
Well, what I've learned is that the men that have the most valuable things to say and to share are too busy doing the things that make what they share valuable, right? Like they don't, and most of them have so much humility that they're like, I don't need to get behind the microphone and tell somebody else how great I am. I'm going to lead my business, impact my community, raise my family. And I'm like, that's exactly who people need to hear from. Is someone that has the humility to say that no one needs to hear from me. You have the most to probably share. The person that says, I'm so great, I should be behind a microphone, everyone should hear what I have to say, I probably don't need to be influenced by them. And that was one of the biggest things. Like when I grew my platform, I actually shied way away from it because I was like, I don't want to be the face. I want to bring people's stories to the face. And I'm mad at myself for it. Had I kept doing it, my following would be well over 1 million people. And now I'm like, that void's going to get filled by people that the world doesn't need to hear from. Like the world needs to hear from the 4 guys that I just heard from. I can promise you that.
Thank you for saying what I tried to say better than me. I just want to at least acknowledge you for that, for self-awareness purposes. Thank you. Pete, I'd love to. Do you have a word? I didn't write it. I didn't get it. If I missed it, I want to write it down.
Efficiency was the word for this year.
Did
Yeah.
you have one last year?
Expansion was last year. And to Steve's point, too, it's like we fucking went out like a supernova. And then same thing. Yes, profits went up, but like really did it? And how much work was I doing to drive said profits, right? The time value of money wasn't necessarily there when you start deducing the P&L. Are you making more? Yes. Are you spending more time? Yes. So really, are you being efficient? Fuck no. So that's why this year it's all about efficiency. I would rather, I coach our agents to do this. And to Carl's point, sometimes we don't do it ourselves, where it's like, hey, do you like mowing your own lawn? No. Okay. Do you make over $100 an hour? Yes. Pay someone, idiot. But like, we don't take our own advice to do that. I'm like, do I like running payroll? No. Do I make over XYZ an hour? Yes. Fucking pay someone to do it. Like, what are we doing? But sometimes like you could preach that all day long, and then you sit down at the end of the day and you're like, I'm not taking my own medicine. You know what I mean? So that's a big learning curve that I had to get over because I was like, let me put the team on my back, which is also a stupid way to view things sometimes. And 2, like start building that community around you, whether it is the social community, whether it's the community in your office, whether you have remote employees, etc. But you will scale and grow so much faster. And it doesn't feel like, Jay and I would talk fucking daily sometimes throughout the week. And like, I would tell him, like, dude, I feel like I'm killing it, but I also feel like there's an elephant just sitting on my chest 24/7. Why are we working like that? That's not efficient. Outsource. And I'm not saying like out of the company, like hire people within in order to help you grow so it's not so stressful on a daily basis. And I think only burnout is a big problem nowadays. I don't know what, maybe because of Carl's point, people are listening to people like wake up at 2 a.m. and go for a 48-mile run. And that, right? Like some of this stuff is not even real. But burnout, I believe, stems from doing things that you just don't like doing. So if you can offload that to an employee, staff, even if you have to outsource it in your infancy in your business, do that because then there will be no burnout. If you love what you're doing on a daily basis, you're never working.
Pete, I think you could make content on just like combing your hair in the morning, like, and then get sponsorships from Paul Mitchell, and you wouldn't even have to actually say anything. It could just be the slow comb through each morning, frequent, consistent.
Put my face in an ice
Sometimes it's wet, sometimes it's dry, sometimes it's damp.
He's got some funny videos like that. I like seeing those. Those are fun.
Mhm.
One was like where there was something where I don't know, and you were on like a one of those like recliner chairs, and like something about the new year or something gets me or
Yeah,
something.
Carl knows the trend, probably the John Hamm one that's like, everybody
You're in the
dances to
club.
that. That video went nuts. So if you don't know anything about social, just hop on the trends because I don't do that enough. And they go ballistic when you do.
Yeah. What about I guess what's the most exciting thing to conquer in 26?
For me, you talking to me stuff or everybody?
For yeah, like
No,
if we want to towards we're going moving towards the close here. Each
yeah.
person, what's the most exciting thing you're grabbing a hold on in 26? I just example like if I listened to what Steve said earlier, there was an epiphany around leverage of or Mike used that word leverage to his customers also gives him, a place to step into
Yeah, Jay,
from his own.
I'll share with
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
So, um, I haven't like as a single dad, I'm 41. My daughters are 10 and 12. I haven't really dated. It's a weird thing to do in your mid 40s to do. But I would definitely want to meet somebody in 26. And what I realized was that I need to be the person that I want desires to be with, rather than just say that I'm these things. Like I'm a man of faith. Um, I am an athlete, and then I'm like, well, I'm 20 pounds heavy right now, and what am I competing in 26, and what does our faith look like? And so a big thing for me is I want to be the person that I desire is desiring. And that can look like a lot of different things in different relationships in life. But definitely for me, I want to be the person that the people that I want to be around. And that's a very big focus.
Wow.
I love that. I think to Carl's point on spending time with the kids too. For 2026, I got all these business goals and stuff like that. But more importantly, arguably, is when my son's born, fiance's due in May. I don't want the first 6 months to look like the first 6 months that it did with Mallory. Same conversation. I did 70 speaking engagements that year. I was never home. When I was home, I was still working. Like having the wheels spinning on this side so I can take time to be present stems from that efficiency word for 2026.
Yeah. For me, first question I think you asked Jay was about what to conquer, and I say it's self, right? Because it really comes down to just us, right? Conquering self, and all of us have something to conquer self in each way, as you heard from Carl, and also just heard from Pete. And same thing for me. I gotta learn how to let go just a little bit, I got to learn how to let go just a little bit. As people call me a perfectionist, and I don't know about perfectionist. My mindset is, you got two choices. You can do it right or you can do it again. And so I just want it done right the first time versus having to do it again and again and again. But I got to be able to let people fail. If I hire you to do something, I got to be able to let you fail. So self is what I got to be able to conquer. Step back, hands off. You're not in the trenches anymore. You're the president. You're the 30,000-foot view, and It's almost like going from a grunt. I'm a grunt, right? From being in the infantry to being a general, and it's like, gee, no, I want to be in fucking war. I want to be on the front lines. I want to be in the trenches. I want to shoot. I want to snipe, but you can't. So I got to make that. I got to conquer self and make that transition from being a grunt to being a general.
So can I throw something back at him there, Jay? Or are you trying to wrap this up?
Mike, if you can, absolutely, and close us out.
Here's what I found in a year of massive challenges from someone trying to almost say be me or steal the business to my office getting completely destroyed from floods, my house, the same thing. I mean, I have a whole list of just all in one year. What I realized is, based on what you're saying, there's always something bigger and more important and more valuable to be focused on. So, like the thing that you're saying I want to do it this way. Dude, most of the stuff we do is temporary anyway. And it's a new day, a new week, a new month to do it again better. And a lot of the stuff we're doing over and over and over. If we just figure out really what because most of us only know what right looks like, and we haven't got a good visual of what 80% looks like. But if you did get clear on what 80% looks like and somebody else achieved it, you'd be fine with it. You just didn't get clear on what 80% looks like, so you didn't become okay with it, so that you can find the most valuable place to focus your attention. Because, like, for example, I'm building a studio right now because the one that we had was destroyed, and I put so much time and energy and money into the first one. I just know what really is important about what I need out of it, and that's the only part of it I'm paying attention to, and nothing else. Somebody else can do everything else, and that's like just understanding what you're going to be okay with on the 80% and understanding where your highest value applied is. And you should be thinking about the number one or two problems in your company, and that in solving that. And then when that's solved, what's number one or two? Solving that. Like, that's the only shit you should be thinking about. Because if that's what you're doing, you're always solving the biggest challenge, or you're always going after the biggest opportunity. And then you win by default because you put all the big rocks in the container first.
If you are listening to this episode of the Culture Matters podcast, thank you. Please share this with one of your brothers. Leave us a review on the Culture Matters podcast. That's how we reinvest to bring you great relationships, resources, and reasons to keep on pushing in the spirit of Carl E. We need those reviews to grow the platform, so we can get everybody together in a plane. I need to shut up. We got to use the bathroom. I'll speak for myself. Now I'm talking and about to start talking in third person. Please share this with a friend. Leave us a review in the Culture Matters podcast. Go listen along for Pete, Carl, Steve, Chris, Mike. Follow them. They're all amazing. And we will see you next time on the Culture Matters podcast.